trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track.
Another Queen Ahmadiyyah production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading on light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading on light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your daily vitamins. I'm sorry. This is your morning wake-up call. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead. Hold on. I'm trying to get my thing on the screen here. Okay, there we go. Okay, so as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, so please forgive my tardiness. It was telling me that there was too much traffic and that I had to wait. So I had to keep trying to get in here. Okay, so hello, Anita Harrell, Cyrus, 504 Nola, Latasha. All right, let's get into it. Claudette, Nessa G, Hadassah. All right, Anita Harrell, Truth Montage. What does that say? D. Okay, Annette. So shout out to all of my loyal royals and everyone tuned into the Queen. And a big shout out to my moderators. I see you, Juju. Okay, let's get into it. 57 Bates Fox, Deronda. We the people. All right, Vince, I am from the UK. All right, Cookie, I see you. G from the land. OG Patrice. All right, so with that all being said, let's get ready to get into the nefariousness of it all. Hey, Dangerous. Okay, so shout out to everyone. Let's have a brief word from my sponsor, and then we'll get started. Here we go. Oh, and also, by the way, we're going live right after this, shortly after this, because we have to talk about the White House shooter. Okay, it's a black man, supposedly. All right, here we go.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
All right. Thank you, Vince. I am said, Queen, your thumbnails are really good. Well, thank you, beloved. Thank you kindly. All right, so let's get into it because we're going to be talking about, you all requested it, so we're going to get into it about Tasha K, about Tasha K's husband being sued by Cardi B. Now, this is just also sad because, like I told you all Tasha K had to do was just simply remove some posts, but she chose to be stubborn. She chose to let her ego take the lead. She chose to be prideful, and now here she is. And they say that pride goeth before the fall, so please pay attention, okay? Now, with that being said, I'm going to share my screen because I have the lawsuit here. It's like 23 pages, and I probably won't go through all of it. I have a few things that I want to point out, though. All right, so let's get into it. Hey, Danielle. All right, now let's talk about it. Okay, so plaintiff Bacalus Marlenis Alamazar. Okay, that's Cardi B's birth name. Okay, by and through undersigned counsel sues defendants Yellen Entertainment LLC, a Florida limited liability company, and Chekna Kibi, an individual. Okay, and defendant. Both of them are together. So suing not only him, but the company also. All right, so plaintiff Bacalus Marlenis Alamazar. I'm just going to say Cardi B. I'm not going to keep saying that long art's name. Okay, so anyway, by and through undersigned counsel sues defendants, okay, a Florida limited liability company. Now, here's the nature of the action. This is an action by a judgment creditor to recover on two related but legally distinct judgments entered against debtor Latasha Transrena Kibi, aka Tasha K, and her former business entity, Kibi Studios LLC, by reaching assets that defendants fraudulently received, concealed, or diverted from Cardi B's reach. Now, this action is filed pursuant to and consistent with the confirmation order, okay, entered in the bankruptcy case of Latasha Transrena Kibi, and which expressly preserves Cardi B's right to commerce. This action against non-debtor third-party insiders and their affiliates, including Yalen and CKB, for the purpose of avoiding the expiration of applicable statutes of repose, and which authorizes the filing of this action, notwithstanding any stay or injunction arising from the bankruptcy case. Well, what does all that even mean, right? And so basically, there was a judgment already, and in order to avoid paying that judgment, there has been some shenanigans going on, because basically what they have done is Tasha K and her husband dissolved Kibi Studios LLC, and they opened up another company called Yellen, which was really the same company. They just switched the name, but they had everything else the same. Okay, everything else was the same, but except, if you remember on the last broadcast about this, I told you that Tasha K was acting as though she was just the employee working for her husband's business. But you know why that made no sense? As I showed you, it's because when it showed her expenses, it had like $40,000+ for contract labor. Now, with what we know that Tasha K does, she does comedy, she has her own streaming service, she has her YouTube channel. Okay, why would she need contract services or contract labor? All right, so basically it was looking as if she was paying the business expenses that came from her husband's business. But if she's the employee, why would she have to pay business expenses? Okay, that doesn't even make any sense. And I told you all that on the last live about this. Okay, so let's get into it. Now, as a result of the debtor's unabated and multi-year long campaign to harm plaintiff filed the action styled Bacalus Cardi B versus Tasha K. Okay, now this was, of course, about a defamation action in which plaintiff pursued claims against debtor and Kibi Studios for defamation, false light, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. So on January the 10th of 2022, the District Court for the Northern District of Georgia commenced a jury trial lasting multiple weeks, and the jury ultimately found Kibi Studios and debtor liable to plaintiff on each of her claims for defamation, false light, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Now, as a result of the willful and malicious nature of her actions, the jury assessed substantial awards of general damages, punitive damages, and litigation expenses, and found debtor and Kibi Studios were jointly and severely liable for these damages. Now, the problem is Tasha K didn't want to pay. Okay, she didn't want to pay. Now I'm going to skip down. I'm not going to read all of this. Now, the original defamation judgment noted the jury's award to plaintiff of $1 million for pain and suffering or reputational injury and $250,000 for medical expenses. The party stipulated to reduce the jury's award of medical expenses from $250,000 to $25,000. So that's a big deduction. Okay, that's a huge reduction. Now, the Georgia District Court, in its original defamation judgment, also included reference to the jury's award to plaintiff of $1 million in punitive damages against debtor and $500,000 in punitive damages against Kibi Studios. Okay, so that was $1,338,753.47 in litigation expenses against both defendants. Now, with that being said, on July the 19th of 2022, the Georgia District Court entered an amended judgment, okay, for the defamation action. A true and correct copy of the amended defamation judgment, okay, that's attached. Now, here's the thing. Kibi Studios was adjudged jointly, okay, and severely liable with debtor for $1,025,000, okay, in compensatory damages, which will be for pain and suffering, reputational injury, and medical expenses. Okay, let's get past all of that. The personal judgment was adjudged jointly for liable with Kibi Studios for the same $1,025,000 for compensatory award, okay, for the same amount. Now, the Kibi Studios judgment, hold on. Okay, the Kibi Studios judgment, where was I at? Okay, we're going to start right here. The amended defamation judgment also imposed a permanent injunction against debtor and Kibi Studios, prohibiting them from publishing or republishing the defamatory statements identified in the accompanying consent order. So that means that what she said, which was not true, was clearly defamation. She could not republish those things, and the videos had to be taken down. They couldn't be put back up, and she was not supposed to continue speaking on it. Now, on July the 29th of 2022, debtor and Kibi Studios appealed the amended defamation judgment. So on March the 21st of 2023, the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals affirmed the Georgia District Court's amended defamation judgment, a true and correct copy. Okay, they have all of that in the paperwork. That's Exhibit D. Now, neither Kibi Studios' judgment nor the personal judgment has been satisfied because Tasha K has not paid Cardi B the money. And as I told you, she was supposed to be making monthly payments. She was also supposed to be reporting her financial status to Cardi B and her attorneys quarterly, like every 3 months. Now, the debtor is currently the subject of a Chapter 11, Subchapter 5 bankruptcy, a bankruptcy case in the United States Bankruptcy Court of the Southern District of Florida. So the personal judgment has been accepted from discharge. Now, the confirmation order entered in the bankruptcy case expressly preserves and authorizes Cardi B to pursue this action against non-debtor third parties, notwithstanding any stay or injunction arising from the bankruptcy case, to preserve a cause of action that would otherwise be extinguished by an applicable statute of repose. Moreover, the confirmation order at and they list the statute, provides that any such action shall be limited to filing and preserving the claim or cause of action to avoid its expiration under the applicable state of repose, and shall not proceed to adjudication of enforcement without further relief from the bankruptcy court. Okay, so when they're talking about a third party, who is that? That's Tasha K's husband, because previously he nor his businesses were included in the lawsuit or the judgment. It was all on Tasha K. Now, the reason Cardi B has brought forth this new lawsuit is because they have been digging her attorneys, that is, and she seems to have some very good attorneys, whereas Tasha K's attorneys don't seem to be doing the best job, for as far as I'm concerned. And I think I told you all before on the last live about this, that it seems to me like Tasha K's attorneys could possibly just be, trying to keep billing her so they can keep getting paid. Because why would her attorney put in that fraudulent case that had nothing to do with the situation? If you all remember, there was a case listed that they wanted to reference, and it had absolutely nothing to do with the case. Okay. So the judge was upset by that, felt like they were trying to use some sort of trickery, trying to be slick or whatever. And like I told you all, it could have been done in error. But should you be making these types of mistakes if you're an attorney? Shouldn't you double check things? But with that being said, that's what ticked the judge off clearly. And so the judge ended up charging Tasha K's attorney 10% of Cardi B's legal fees as well. Okay, and that very rarely happens. That rarely happens. So now here's what they say. The scheme giving rise to this action was orchestrated by debtor and defendant C. Okay, debtor's husband and the co-owner and manager of Kibi Studios. Defendant C, Kibi, in concert with debtor, carried out two parallel fraudulent schemes. Now, point A, the Kibi Studios Successor scheme. Okay, following the entry of the original defamation judgment on February the 17th of 2022, but before the entry of the amended defamation judgment on July the 19th of 2022, C. Kibi formed Yalen on May the 31st of 2022 and caused the entire business of Kibi Studios, its operations, revenue streams, clients, management contracts, going concern value, and the services of debtor as talent to be transferred to Yellen without consideration and without paying any of Kibi Studios' judgment obligations. So let's talk about that for a second. So what they did was, when Tasha K lost the case and there was a judgment set against her, and now remember, the judgment was for $4 million. Cardi B was kind enough to reduce it to, I believe, like 1.2 million. Okay. So, but rather than paying the judgment out, Tasha K and her husband, according to the reports or these court documents, they just dissolved the Kibi Studios company, closed it down altogether, and opened up Yalen. With that being said, because it was actually the same entity, just with a different name, they still owed the money. But their whole thing was to try to act like this is a whole nother business that had nothing to do with that one. And so therefore, the judgment can't come out of this business, and there's nothing that can come out of Kibi Studios because it's gone. Okay, please pay attention how crazy that is. Okay, I don't know how they thought they'd get away with it. But anyway, now it goes on to say that Kibi Studios was then dissolved, leaving it an empty shell with no assets from which Miss or Cardi B could collect the Kibi Studios judgment. Yalen is Kibi Studios' successor in every meaningful sense and is liable for the Kibi Studios judgment as its mere continuation. Okay, it's the same company. It has the same employees. It has everything left the same, okay, except the name. Now, the personal income diversion scheme, point B, this is their other grievance. Simultaneously, C. Kibi took a series of steps to render debtors' personal income and assets unavailable to satisfy the personal judgment. Now, listen to this. He rerouted debtors' salary and earnings through Yalen's accounts in structures designed to frustrate garnishment. He removed debtor from bank accounts on which he had been authorized. He caused debtor to cease receiving direct payments, and he accepted the transfer of debtor's interest in real property located in Georgia without consideration approximately 1 month, okay, after the original defamation judgment was entered. So basically, the property. So let's talk about this. In interest in real property located in Georgia. So that would be Tasha K's house. Okay, the house that they had, obviously he took Tasha K's name off of it. So they couldn't come for any of the property, the assets and things like that. Okay, and then took her name off of the bank accounts. So they couldn't be garnished because any bank accounts with Tasha K's name on it, well, Cardi B's attorneys could have had them garnished. Okay, could have simply taken the money out by garnishing her wages, just garnishing the account, basically. Do you all see how nefarious this is? Tommy Jackson said, why didn't you leave Cardi alone? Exactly. Exactly. Like, this is so crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Okay, so we the people say Tasha K's ignorant, gossiping AIDS mouth got her in financial troubles with a with a celebrity. I'm not going to use that word that you use, okay, because I don't like to call people that. But anyway, yeah, that's exactly what she did, because she could have just after she didn't take down the stuff and she got the judgment against her, she could have just been paying, because at the end of the day, how does she not have the money? Okay, she clearly has the money, and that's why they're hiding it. Okay, if you don't have the money, the funds, that's one thing, but you have the money and you're hiding it. Now that would tick anyone off. Okay, that would tick anyone off. Now, anyway, with that being said, trying to avoid a garnishment. So Cardi B brings this action for actual fraudulent transfer, constructive fraudulent transfer, successor liability and mere continuation, alter ego, and piercing the corporate veil. Okay, civil conspiracy, declaratory relief, and imposition of a constructive trust. She seeks avoidance of the fraudulent transfers, money judgment against defendants jointly and severally in an amount sufficient to satisfy both the Kibi Studios judgment and the personal judgment, plus interest, costs, and attorney's fees. So that's how her husband got brought into this. Because what the lawyers saw is that he's absolutely helping her to do this. He's complicit. He's going above and beyond to try to keep his wife from having to pay out any money. So they're both in it. So they're both guilty. They're both culpable. Okay, so Cardi B's like, listen, if she wants to hide her money and put everything in his name and act like he's the only one that's making any money and she's just an employee of his, but we now know that that's not the case, well, now we want him to pay, because Cardi B is acting like E.F. Hutton. What was that guy's name? That commercial? You all remember E.F. Hinton? That it's my money and I want it now. That's what that's given. Okay, please pay attention. Trisha says he's probably going to put it in one of the kids' names now. Well, here's the thing: they're not going to be able to do any of that. Okay, I don't think they're going to be able to get away with trying to do anything at this point, honey. It's a little too late. So now they want the judgment, but plus interest as well as attorney's fees. Now, this all could have been solved real easy if Tasha K just did what she was supposed to do, rather than trying to be so slick and shady. Okay, so plaintiff Cardi B is an individual docile. Okay, we're going to skip past that, because they're just telling you about who Cardi B is, basically. Now, beginning no later than 2018 and continuing through at least 2022, debtor through Unwind with Tasha K's social media platforms conducted a sustained and malicious campaign of defamation against Cardi B, publishing disgusting, false, and defamatory statements to millions of followers, falsely accusing Cardi B of being a prostitute, having sexually transmitted diseases, engaging in abasing acts, and other fabrications. On January the 14th of 2022, trial commenced in the defamation action. C. Kibi attended the trial as the designated corporate representative of Kibi Studios. Now listen to this. Now Tasha K's husband was sworn in, okay? He was sworn and testified at trial in that capacity, acknowledging on the record that he was the manager and half owner, okay, the co-owner of Kibi Studios. On January the 25th of 2022, the jury returned a verdict in favor of Cardi B against both debtor and Kibi Studios. Now, following the verdict, now mind you, because he said he was half owner, at the time he testified that he was half owner of Kibi Studios, okay? And so if you ask me, Cardi B could have had him on the hook in the first place, but she just went after Tasha K. So with that being said, following the verdict, the Georgia District Court with C. Kibi present in the courtroom as Kibi Studios corporate representative specifically warned both debtor and C. Kibi not to transfer assets or change financial condition to impede collection of the anticipated judgment, cautioning that transferring assets into the names of third parties could subject them to almost impossible tort actions in the future. So they were warned. They literally told them this in the courtroom. They literally told them don't try to do it because they know this is what people would try to do. Don't try to transfer things. Don't try to hide assets, but they did it anyway. How dumb is that? Warning them that there could be possible tort actions in the future. Now, see, Kibi has since testified. Now, listen to this, because he actually told on himself. C. Kibi has since testified under oath that he is smart enough to understand a warning from a judge. But hold on. Was he? Because he told on himself. On February the 17th of 2022, the Georgia District Court entered the original defamation judgment. And then on July the 19th of 2022, the Georgia District Court entered the amended defamation judgment, which was affirmed upon appeal to the 11th Court. So Kibi Studios was a Georgia limited liability company co-owned and operated by debtor and her husband, C. Kibi. It was the primary vehicle through which debtor conducted her social media business, utilizing the Unwind with Tasha K brand across YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and other social media platforms, producing video content. Now, Kibi Studios also managed Tasha K Live, a subscription-based streaming platform. Okay, now C. Kibi served as co-owner and manager of Kibi Studios. He was responsible for day-to-day operations, including managing debtor social media platforms, overseeing content production, managing independent contractors, making payroll decisions. They might end up on parole, please pay attention. Okay, making payroll decisions and controlling Kibi Studios' bank accounts. Now, he handled the financial and operational side of the business, while debtor served as the on-camera talent and content creator. Debtor was compensated through Kibi Studios. So basically saying that Tasha K was paid through the business. Now, at various times, she received W-2 wages from Kibi Studios as an employee. Debtor CPA Alicia Thomas prepared the relevant payroll records and tax filings. C. Kibi provided the underlying information to Ms. Thomas for that purpose. Now, as set forth above, the amended defamation judgment entered against Kibi Studios totaled $2,863,753.47. Now, mind you, this was a joint, and this was making both of them liable, okay, in joint and several liability with debtor plus, it wasn't making both of them liable. It was in joint and several liability with debtor plus $500,000 in punitive damages assessed against Kibi Studios specifically. So that was just against the business, okay? Kibi Studios has never paid any portion of the Kibi Studios judgment. And so basically, that's why they were trying to get rid of the business because they didn't want to pay that judgment. They didn't want to pay any of it, okay, of that $500,000. Now, here's where they talk about the formation of Yelling and the Successor scheme. Point C. So on May the 31st of 2022, approximately 4 months after the jury verdict, approximately 3 months after entry of the original defamation judgment, and approximately 7 weeks before entry of the amended defamation judgment, C. Keeby formed Yellen as a Florida limited liability company. Upon information and belief, C. Keeby is Yellen's sole member and manager. Now, Yellen was formed with the identical business purpose as Keeby Studios, but by C. Keeby's own sworn description. Now, Yellen is a video production company and a social media management company. Upon Yellen's formation, Yellen assumed management of Debtors Unwind with Tasha K social media platforms. Now, continue the video production business previously operated by Keeby Studios, managed Tasha K Live, and entered into the same management arrangement with Debtor through the same personnel, C. Keeby, okay, that had previously existed with Keeby Studios. That's to say that everything was still the same. Nothing ever changed except the name. The same person was in charge, managing, in charge of production and all of that. And basically, there was no difference. Now, although income to and through Keeby Studios was diverted to Yellen as early as July 2022, when the amended defamation judgment was entered, Keeby Studios was finally wound down and dissolved on April the 20th of 2023, long after Keeby Studios had any income streams. So C. Keeby has testified under oath that Keeby Studios was terminated because it wasn't being operated properly and because it had a judgment against it. Now, do y'all hear that? Do y'all hear that? Why would he even say that? Do you all understand what is going on here? He's literally admitting to, okay, he admitted to the fact that basically they shut it down because they had a judgment against them. This is after the judge already warned them that you can't do stuff like this. But he already told the judge that he was smart enough to understand a judge's warning. So why would you do it? That makes no sense whatsoever. Okay, and he testified to this. No independent, legitimate business reason for the dissolution and no arm's length transaction effectuating the transfer of Keeby Studios' business to Yellen has ever been identified. Now think about that for a second. No independent, legitimate business reason for the dissolution. Like you didn't have a good reason. Like you didn't have, like, say, for example, if you had a business partner who was embezzling money or who was, doing something shady, that could compromise the business, or maybe the two of you fell out and you no longer can work with that person, that would be a good reason to dissolve a business and just say, you know what, I'm just going to shut it down. I want anything to do with it. But it was nothing like that. He literally said that they simply shut it down. He said it wasn't being operated properly and because it had a judgment against it. But here's the thing. Who was operating the business? He was. He was the one that was operating the business. So he himself wasn't operating it properly. But the main thing is, he said, because it had a judgment against it. Okay, so you just can't do that. And he already gave them the receipts by admitting to that. Now, an analysis of the income streams of Keeby Studios and Yellen exposes in real time the transfer of assets from the Keeby Studios to Yellen. Specifically, Keeby Studios' Tasha K Live income shifted completely to Yellen halfway through July of 2022 when the amended defamation judgment was entered. And Keeby Studios' YouTube income shifted completely from Keeby Studios to Yellen September of 2022. Now, the dissolution of Keeby Studios and transfer of its business to Yellen was accomplished without Keeby Studios paying any portion of the Keeby Studios judgment. When Keeby Studios was dissolved, it had no assets with which to satisfy the Keeby Studios judgment because those assets, including the going concern value of its business operations, had been transferred to Yellen. Yellen received the full benefit of Kibi Studios, the revenue-generating business, without even assuming any of the Kibi Studios' judgment obligations and without paying any consideration therefore. So basically, they should have still been paying. Now, Yellen stepped directly into Kibi Studios' shoes in an operational respect. It assumed management of the same social media platforms, served the same client, the debtor, performed the same services, content production, platform management, talent management, collected management fees from the same revenue streams, and employed many of the same independent contractors. There was no gap in operations. C. Kibi managed both entities and personally executed the transition from one to the other. So he's the one responsible for this, is what they're saying. He did this. So that makes him just as guilty, if not more so, than Tasha K. Because it's looking like he's the one that did all of this stuff. He did everything. Now, the biggest thing is that they weren't even smart enough to try to switch things up. Like, they weren't even smart enough to sell the business, maybe. I mean, they could have perhaps, and when I say sell it, what I'm saying is, how can I put this? I mean, since they wanted to be slick, they could have basically sold the business to someone else in their family and made it look like they had nothing to do with it, and had the family member, whoever they sold it to, giving them the proceeds. Okay? But they didn't even think enough to do that. What they basically did was just thought they could keep everything the same as per usual and just change out the names, thinking that's going to absolve them from payment and from any responsibility for the judgment. Now, Yellen's management arrangement with the debtor was never reduced to writing, and C. Kibi has been unable to identify in sworn testimony a single written term of any agreement between them. So, despite that, he confirmed that he managed debtors' platforms full-time and structured his compensation by deducting management fees from debtors' revenue before remitting the balance. Basically, he said, I deduct my fees. This is what he literally said. I deduct my fees, then when whatever is left, she gets. This arrangement is functionally identical to what Kibi Studios did before it was dissolved. I mean, and the thing is that he admitted to this. I'm sorry, but him and Tasha K, here's the thing. Him and Tasha K don't seem to be that smart. But even if they're not that smart, where were their attorneys? Why wouldn't their attorneys tell them that you can't do this? This is not a good idea, and that you're going to get caught? Why would the attorneys allow them to get this far in? I really think that the attorneys were just trying to get paid. Really, that's what I think. Because the longer this goes on, the more they're going to get paid. Remember? I mean, think about it. And also, if it keeps going back and forth to court, or Cardi wants to, amend things, or she wants to sue somebody else, or whatever, they're going to still need attorneys, so they're going to continue to get paid. It just seems to me like the attorneys really don't seem to give a crap, as long as they're getting their money. But Cardi B, on the other hand, seems to have very good attorneys who are doing their due diligence. Okay, this is all crazy. Metro Man said the elevator doesn't go all the way up. Okay. OG Patrice said stupid is as stupid does. Metro Man said because they want to get paid. Exactly. Okay, exactly. Like, this is all just mind-boggling to me. So the personal income, this is point D, the personal income and asset diversion scheme. Now, I want you to think about this. There's a lot of schemes that they're pointing out in this. Okay, they're accusing them of multiple schemes. In parallel with Kibi Studios' Successor scheme, C. Kibi and debtor undertook a series of coordinated financial maneuvers designed to render debtors' personal income and assets unavailable to satisfy the personal judgment. Now, so basically act like we don't have it. Remember Tasha K said, I'm going to be honest with y'all, I ain't got it. That's what she was trying to make it look like. That's what they were both trying to make it look like, that they just don't have it. So these acts were deliberate and have been repeatedly admitted under oath across multiple depositions of debtor and CKB. They've admitted to these things. So in August of 2022, right after the amended defamation judgment was entered, CKB removed debtor as an authorized user from a Bank of America account through which her payroll had been deposited. He has confirmed under oath that this was done expressly to avoid garnishment. So let me tell you all something here. You know, this is really interesting because here's the thing. Cardi B and her attorneys have known this clearly since when they first did it in 2022. They could have been come after them. Because they literally admitted to these things in a deposition. So that means that Cardi and her attorneys already knew they were lying and already knew they were hiding money and already knew that they had simply dissolved the business, okay, and created another one. But Cardi probably was thinking, I just want my darn money. As long as she's making the payments monthly and pays me off, as long as she's turning in her financial statements quarterly, okay, that's fine. So you know what made this all come back up? Tasha K's mouth. Still talking about people close to Cardi B, because remember, I showed you in the paperwork on the last live how she wasn't supposed to talk about anybody that was a family member. That would include Offset, who was Cardi B's husband. At the time, are they divorced? I don't even know. But nonetheless, she was not supposed to talk about him. And then Stefan Diggs. Now, he's not literally a family member, but he's someone close to her because they have a child together. Okay, so common sense would tell the average person that she shouldn't talk about him either. But she kept talking about people that are close to Cardi B. I'm going to tell you like this. If this had been me in this situation and I'd been hit with a $4 million judgment, I wouldn't ever want to talk about Cardi B or anybody that she's even dealing with ever again. I wouldn't even want to mention her name again. There are so many thousands of celebrities to talk about. I would just not talk about her at all. But Tasha K just couldn't. She just couldn't stop. It's almost like she's obsessed with Cardi B. It's almost like she just has some sort of, I don't know, some inherent need to just keep going and going. And if I can't talk about her, then I'll talk about her husband. If I can't talk about that, I'll talk about Stefan Diggs. I'll talk about all the women he's messing around with. Because what she was doing when she was doing all of that was still trying to make Cardi B look bad. And Cardi B knew that. And so did her attorneys. She was trying to indirectly make Cardi B look bad. You understand what I'm saying? Still trying to disparage her, but not just coming out and saying Cardi B this and Cardi B that, but by speaking on other people to make her look bad. And see, Cardi B knew that that's something that she could do. That's why they put what they put in the first agreement, in the non-disparagement agreement, that you can't talk about these people over here either, not even cousins and such. So, but she just wouldn't. She just wouldn't stay away from talking about people related to Cardi. Now, that being said, he has confirmed under oath that this was done expressly to avoid garnishment. Why would anybody admit to that? Like, I'm serious. Why would anybody admit to that and say, yeah, I did it also. She couldn't get garnished. That's literally telling them that you don't want to pay this money. So debtor asked CKB to stop paying her directly from Yellen's accounts in order to avoid garnishment, and CKB complied. So Tasha K told her husband, listen, stop paying me out of this account too, Yellen's account, the new one. Don't even pay me out of there because we could still get garnished. And he complied. He has acknowledged this too under oath, by the way. So less than 1 month after entry of the original defamation judgment on March 10th of 2022, debtor transferred her interest in residential real property located at 398 Dunlevin Manor Walk, Georgia. That's Tasha K's house that's up for sale. She doesn't live there at this point. She was renting it out at one point, but she said recently that she was going to sell it. So that's that property. So a true and correct copy of the quitclaim deed is attached, okay? So the transfer was made without real consideration and for no reasonably equivalent value. Now, when asked why he did not reserve the transfer upon learning of it, CKB testified saying, I wanted to help her avoid garnishment. Are they okay? Are they cool? Because who does that? When asked directly whether he was helping debtor avoid paying Cardi B, he said yes. He literally said yes. Do you all see how crazy this is? Greta said some people straight up fools. Measure Man said no common sense. He answered yes. Now, each of the foregoing acts, the diversion of debtors' income through Yellen's accounts and structures, the removal of debtors from bank accounts, the rerouting of payroll and the transfer of the Georgia property was undertaken with the admitted purpose of hindering, delaying, and defrauding Cardi B as a judgment creditor of debtor. Notice they use the word defrauding because that's what that is. Defrauding. This is bad. Like this is really bad. And like I said, this is sad to me because Tasha K, I wonder if right now, after this lawsuit being filed, if she realizes how much she stands to lose. If she realizes exactly what this can potentially cost her. They could literally go to jail for bankruptcy fraud. They could literally be in jail for this. And her husband could get deported. Because remember, he's from Africa. And here's the thing. He could face deportation because if you get a conviction for bankruptcy fraud, I mean, for many crimes, but specifically, let's talk about bankruptcy fraud. If you get convicted of that under the federal immigration law, bankruptcy fraud is considered both a crime involving moral turpitude, okay? Moral turpitude and an aggravated felony. Now, because it triggers these specific categories, this conviction can result in severe immigration penalties, okay? Severe immigration penalties. Because here's the thing. Deportation or removal from the country. You know, the law mandates the removal of any non-citizen convicted of an aggravated felony. Okay, convictions for aggravated felonies bar an immigrant from seeking almost all forms of relief from deportation, such as asylum or cancellation of removal. This is bad, you all. This is really bad. Permanently inadmissibility. Individuals removed from aggravated felony convictions are generally barred from ever legally re-entering the United States again. I'm going to give you a prime example. Remember that show? I don't know if it still comes on. That show, Housewives of New Jersey. What was that guy's name? Joe Giudice? Hold on. Hold on, beloveds. He was deported after he did his prison time. Yeah, Joe Giudice. Okay, now let me see exactly why he was deported. I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I may not be. Okay, Joe Giudice was deported because he was convicted of multiple counts of felony fraud and was never a U.S. citizen. Although he lived in the U.S. since he was an infant, U.S. immigration law dictates that legal permanent residents can be deported if convicted of an aggravated felony or a crime of moral turpitude. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. What in the world has Tasha K done? What has Tasha K done? This is all so sad. Listen to this. Oh my God, I didn't even realize this. It is the same thing. Listen, it says, listen to this. Hold on. It says the conviction in 2014, Giudice pleaded guilty to mail fraud, wire fraud, and bankruptcy fraud for submitting false financial information to obtain loans and hide assets. Y'all, he also pleaded guilty to failing to file income taxes. The sentence, he served 41 months in federal prison for the crimes. Upon completing his prison sentence in 2019, he was transferred to ICE, to ICE custody and subsequently deported to his native Italy. While his appeal to remain in the U.S. were ultimately denied by immigration judges. He later relocated from Italy to the Bahamas to be geographically closer to his New Jersey-based family. This is all sad. Wow. Do y'all hear this? Do y'all hear this? Charlotte says he honored the oath, Queen. You should not lie. Well, you got that right, I guess. But he was already lying, though. That's the thing. He was already lying by committing the fraud and hiding the assets, supposedly. Now, Lady Azure says the content creator became the content. Right. When the gossiper becomes the gossip. I mean, there's really no defense. There is literally no defense. Like, he literally did the same thing this man did. I didn't even realize that's all the reasons why Joe Gadisi went to prison. I just knew he committed a crime. That was a felony. But that's real crazy. Okay, so anyway, let's continue. And the sad thing is, they don't even have to prove their case because he's already admitted to all this stuff. So there's that. Okay, so the confirmation order entered in the bankruptcy case expressly preserved Cardi B's right to pursue all claims and causes of action against non-debtor third parties, including defendants herein, and authorized the filing of this action, notwithstanding any stay, discharge injunction, or other injunction arising from the bankruptcy case, in order to preserve a cause of action that would otherwise be extinguished by an applicable statute or of repose. Basically saying there's no way out of this. Cardi B has every right to come for him, has every right to come for them the way that she is. Okay, they basically did this to themselves. Natasha said, I didn't know that. Okay? Cardi B's lawyers are working overtime. Cardi B's lawyers are going to mop the floor with all of this evidence. Clearly. Okay, absolutely. This is just sad to me because Tasha K, beloved, why did you do it? The actual fraudulent intent of each transfer, the actual fraudulent intent of each transfer is established by, among other things, the following conspicuous badges of fraud. A, the transfers were made to and for the benefit of an insider, a C. Kibi, debtor's husband and business partner. B, the transfers were made after the jury verdict and concurrent with or shortly after entry of the amended defamation judgment. Okay, so that means they didn't do this beforehand because then they could have it wouldn't have been fraud, malicious. But they did it directly after. Okay, so how dumb was that? So, because here's the thing. As soon as Tasha K realized that she was being sued, here's the thing. I don't know why the lawyers didn't tell them that. When Tasha K first knew she was being sued by Cardi B, before she even went to trial or whatever, here's the thing. Before she even knew she was being sued, when Tasha K's attorneys sent her the cease and desist, she should have started doing all this then. If she'd have started doing all of this then, she'd be in a different predicament. But she waited until after they already gave the order, the judgment. Now, this is fraud. All day, every day, and twice on Sundays. And so anyway, the transfers were made after the jury verdict and concurred with or shortly after entry of the amended judgment. Point C, the transfers were made without reasonable equivalent value. Okay, D, debtor and Kibi Studios were insolvent or rendered insolvent by the transfers, basically as if they had no money. Okay, Kibi received the court's direct warning as Kibi Studios corporate representative not to transfer the assets. Okay, defendants have repeatedly under oath, admitted under oath that the purpose of the transfers was to avoid garnishment and repayment of the amended defamation judgment. Yalen was formed after entry of the original defamation judgment and prior to entry of the amended judgment, and assumed Kibi Studios' entire business without any consideration passing to Kibi Studios or its creditors. It's a wrap. Kibi was not a passive recipient. Like, it's not like he was blind to this. It's not like Tasha K did these things behind his back. It's not like he didn't have any idea what was going on. He was not a passive recipient. He knew and intentionally and with malice did these things. He actively planned, directed, and executed each of the transfers described herein, was the primary beneficiary of those transfers, and admitted under oath both the transfers and their fraudulent purpose. Yikes. So, pursuant to Florida Statute 726.108, Cardi B is entitled to avoidance of the transfers to the extent necessary to satisfy both the Key Studios judgment and the personal judgment attachment or other provisional remedy against the transferred assets, an injunction against further deposition of the assets or the proceeds thereof, appointment of a receiver, and any other relief of the circumstances may require. They're going to have to pay regardless. Okay? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And here's the thing. This is not going to turn out well because Cardi B claims arising from the defamation judgment arose prior to each of the transfers described herein. Accordingly, she qualifies as a creditor under both Florida statutes with respect to all transfers. So that means that she's able to get money out of all of these entities, the bank accounts that they've tried to be shady and take Tasha K's name off of. She can absolutely still get money out of those. She can absolutely get money from the property. It doesn't matter if it's in his name now or not. Okay, if they sell the property, she can go after that money. Okay, she could even, if wanted to, put a lien on the property. Okay, and that would make it hard for them to sell. That would make it very hard for them to sell. You can't sell it with a lien on it. All right, you cannot sell it with the lien on it, but the transfers of Kibi Studios business to Yellen, the transfer of the Georgia property to C. Kibi, and the diversion of debtors' income through Yellen's accounts were each made without the transfer receiving reasonably equivalent value. Yellen paid nothing for the business, going concern value, and revenue streams it received from Kibi Studios. See, notice how they're saying that Yellen paid nothing for the business. So, like I told you, if they had sold it to another person or whatever, given it to a family member, they could have sold it to them for $1. Said, okay, here, just put this in your name. I'm gonna sell it to you, sign this, and then you just give me $1 and now it's yours, but you got to pay us this amount every month. They could have done something like that, but they didn't do anything. They just simply tried to take the name off of it and stick another name on it and thought that was going to ride. And so the diversion of debtors' income through structured accounts yielded no consideration to debtor or Kibi Studios. At the time of each transfer, both debtor and Kibi Studios were insolvent within the meaning of Florida statutes 726.103, or the transfers rendered them insolvent. The admitted defamation judgment, whether pending or entered, constituted an obligation that far exceeded debtors and Kibi Studios' available assets. The Kibi Studios judgment alone totaled over $2 million, exclusive of post-judgment interest, which has been accruing after the business transfer to Yellen. Kibi Studios had no assets to satisfy any portion of the obligation. Cardi B is entitled to the same remedy set forth in count 1 pursuant to Florida statute. Ooh, honey, I don't think we even need to read the rest, because the bottom line is they have absolutely lied and engaged in fraud. They have hidden and diverted assets. This is all just so sad. Pay up and deportation in their future, says Greta. OG Patrice says, hold on. OG Patrice says, Tasha K, what a tangle web you've weaved when you first tried to deceive. Child. Now, OG Patrice, you know you are being so messy at this point. Lady Azure says, dumb criminals. Child, y'all are something else. Y'all are something else. This is really sad. Okay. I feel a little bad for Tasha K. I mean, even though I feel like her ego got her in this. Look at Cyrus laughing. You're so nefarious too, Cyrus. Okay. This is all crazy. This is all so crazy at the end of the day. Now, hold on. My mouse, hold on, it's acting up. Okay, so BM says Tasha K should file court sanctions against her own attorneys based on their incompetence in representing her. Then she should try to appeal based on her attorney's incompetence. Here's the thing. She can't do that. So you can't get mad at your attorneys because you committed fraud. Okay. Now she could say that she didn't have adequate counsel or whatever, but at the end of the day, she still committed crimes. And you know what they say, right? Ignorance of the law is no excuse. Sue your attorneys if you want, but you can still go to jail and your husband can still be deported and you're still going to owe Cardi B that cash. That's how that goes. Okay. And mind you, she did appeal the judgment when it first happened. Okay. RG Titan said Tasha's the problem, not the attorneys. Exactly. I mean, the attorneys, and here's the thing. She may not even have told her attorneys that she did this. I was just thinking that a smart person, someone with intelligence, and even with common sense, even. I mean, you don't even need critical thinking skills, I wouldn't think, just common sense. Someone who was thinking about doing these things, I would have just expected that they would have called their attorneys first and say, hey, listen, we don't want to pay all this money. Is there any way we can, transfer some funds, dissolve some assets, dissolve the business? Is there anything we can do to get out of it? Maybe they didn't even do that. That's what it's looking like. I mean, unless their attorneys are woefully incompetent, maybe they just didn't even ask them, which is crazy if they didn't. OG Patrice said, I don't believe she listens to her attorneys. You're right. She probably doesn't. Okay, so this is just a sad story. At the end of the day, like I said, I mean, I feel a little bad for Tasha K, but the bottom line is she brought this on herself. Sadly, but true, she brought this on herself. Now, with that all being said, let's go to this report about it. Cardi B sues Tasha K's husband over alleged scheme to hide $4 million judgment assets. So Cardi B filed a lawsuit on May the 6th against Tasha K's husband, Check Nakibi, and his Florida company, Yellen Entertainment LLC. Okay, accusing them of running two coordinated schemes to move money and assets out of reach after a Georgia jury ordered Kibi and her former company to pay Cardi nearly $4 million in 2022. Now, the complaint filed in the Southern District of Florida names Check Nakibi individually and the Yellen business as an entity. Okay, Tasha K, born Tasha, we know her name, is not a named party because her bankruptcy case is still active. But the filing makes clear the alleged schemes were carried out in coordination with her and on her behalf, and her name runs through nearly every paragraph of the complaint. The lawsuit comes with 7 exhibits attached, including the original and amended defamation law judgments, the 11th Circuit ruling affirming the verdict, as well as forensic accounting prepared for the bankruptcy case. Yellen's tax records as well, and a quitclaim deed. They have all the receipts. They have absolutely all the receipts. And I don't have those to show you. I just have the lawsuit. I don't have the attachments. Now, the core of the lawsuit is a claim that Check Nakibi used 2 parallel fraudulent schemes to make the judgment uncollectible. The first involves Kibi Studios LLC, the Georgia company through which Tasha K ran the Unwild Tasha K platforms, and which was jointly liable for the judgment. A forensic accounting firm. Now, it's something serious when they get forensics involved, right? That's when it's elevated, right? That's when it's a whole felony charges that you could be facing. So they got a forensic accounting firm, Capilla and Muckamal, prepared an income analysis for the bankruptcy case showing Kibi Studios generated over $1 million in YouTube revenue alone between 2019 and 2023, and that income shifted completely from Kibi Studios to Yellen by September of 2022. The same period when the amended judgment was entered. You see how this is just all looking so shady as hell? Like they really did it like just literally days or weeks after the judgment. How dumb was that? The complaint alleges that Check Nakibi formed Yellen in May of 2022, months after the verdict. Okay, transferred the entire business of Kibi Studios to Yellen without paying anything, and then dissolved Kibi Studios, leaving it with no assets and a judgment it could never pay. Yellen's 2022 tax record attached as an exhibit shows gross receipts of $355,957 with revenue sourced from YouTube and Stripe, and lists Chekna Kibi as its sole shareholder. He has testified under oath that Kibi Studios was dissolved, and specifically because it owed a judgment. It had a judgment against it. The second scheme targets Tasha K's personal income. The complaints alleges that Chekna Kibi rerouted her earnings through Yellen's accounts and structured accounts designed to prevent Cardi B from garnishing them, removed Tasha K as an authorized user on bank accounts where her payroll had been deposited, and stopped paying her directly. Now, the complaint also alleges that on March 10th of 2022, less than a month after the oral judgment was entered, Tasha K transferred her interest in a Gwinnett County, Georgia property to Chekna Kibi for $1. Didn't I say you could sell something to a family member for $1? That's what most people do when they're trying to be slick. But, so she transferred the property to him for $1. The quitclaim deed is attached as an exhibit. They literally have them dead to right. Danielle said, like you said in the beginning of the live, Queen, pride before the fall. Exactly, beloved. Ooh, honey, this is all sad. Greta says, Tasha so dense. Guess her and Wig are friends. Claudette says, so much for smarter than a fifth grader. Major Man said, yeah, it's over. Y'all are terrible. Y'all are terrible. This is absolutely so sad. Now, with that all being said, okay, so they have the quitclaim deed and all of that. Now, when Chekna Kibi was asked under oath why he did not reverse the transfer after learning of it, see, listen, this was his out. Like, he could have simply, they asked him, why didn't you reverse the transfer after learning about it? See, here's the thing. After they did all of this stuff, if they hadn't talked to their attorneys and did this, they could have asked the attorneys after the fact or told the attorneys what they had done. Now, I don't know if they did or not. If they did and the attorney didn't tell them, hey, you're wrong, you can't do that, well, that's just crazy. But even if they did all of this and then later went to their attorneys and said, look, here's what we did, the attorneys could have said, no, dude, you got to reverse the transfers. You can't get away with this. But they asked him, why did he not reverse the transfer after learning about it? He said he wanted to help her avoid garnishment. When asked directly whether he was helping her avoid paying Cardi B, he said yes. Why would you tell yourself? Why would you tell yourself? Because I'm saying like this, honey, I would have put it all on her because she's the one that got them into this. I would have been like, she did what? No, I didn't know that she did all of that. I didn't have anything to do with it, honey. I'd have been, don't take me down with it. I'm not going down with the ship for something you did. Especially when being deported's involved. Yeah, he answered yes. Now, and I get it, that's his wife, and he's going to defend her, but this was all just dumb. Like, I don't know why they thought this was going to be a thing. And here's the thing. This just goes to show, in my opinion, that the lawyers, they may have told Tasha K not to do it, and she did it anyway. Like OG Patrice said, maybe she doesn't listen to them because the judge literally told them not to do this. And told them you could be hit with tort liability in the future. But they did it anyway. So if you don't listen to a judge, you probably darn sure don't listen to your attorneys. So Cardi B's attorneys note that a Georgia judge warned them. I already told you all that. And he testified under oath that he was smart enough to understand a warning from a judge. Because the judge must have asked him, do you understand this is a warning, right? Do you understand the consequences? Because he said, yeah, I'm smart enough to understand a warning from a judge. Clearly he wasn't. Now, with post-judgment interest, Cardi B's proof of claim filed in the bankruptcy case valued the total obligation at over $3 million at the time of the bankruptcy petition in 2023. Neither the judgment against Kibi Studios nor the personal judgment against Tasha K has been satisfied. The lawsuit seeks a money judgment against Chekna Kibi and Yellen jointly for the full amount of both plus interest and asks the court to declare the asset transfers fraudulent, impose a constructive trust over everything that was moved. Ooh, do y'all hear this? Compose impose a constructive trust over everything that was moved, and block both from transferring or disposing of any additional assets while the case is pending. So they can't transfer or dispose of anything. Okay? And declare the asset transfer as fraudulent. Now, once the judge does that, they can absolutely go to jail. The complaint notes this action was filed to preserve Cardi B's claims before the applicable time deadline expires, and cannot proceed to a full trial without additional permission from the bankruptcy court. As previously reported by mixtapechicks.com, the bankruptcy court found Tasha K in civil contempt on May the 13th for repeatedly violating the non-disparagement clause of her bankruptcy plan, and ordered her to pay Cardi B's attorney's fees going back to March of 2025. No hearing date has been set in the new civil case. What do y'all think? What do y'all think about this? And the fact that her husband can be deported, because this is definitely a crime involving moral turpitude. That means basically it's immoral. Okay, shady practices. Oh, so crazy. Oh, so crazy. With that all being said, let's talk about Cheyenne Bryant. Okay, likes up, everyone, please like and share. Now, you all remember, hold on. You all remember that just the other day, this real therapist, who's clearly like, came out and said that she was going to see to it that Cheyenne Bryant gets some consequences. She said, who would she be as a therapist to not do so? Okay, please pay attention.
Hi, I'm Cheyenne Bryant, a spiritual life coach. I hold credentials in the field of psychology.
Put themselves in your shoes or try to see how you see things. They're judgmental. So I just need some type of, doctoral advice, I guess I could say.
Okay. I'm Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. I'm a doctor of psychology. I'm a marriage, family, and child therapist. I'm a life coach. I have a private practice in downtown LA. But I also travel to my clients as well, and I offer telephonic life coaching as well as Skype and FaceTime life coaching. So I designed my practice so that my job is to be of service of you. So I make sure that however I can get to you, to heal you, to help you, to assist you in creating your blueprint to success, to life, to healing, then that's how we have to do it. Whether I'm coming to you, we're on Skype, we're on FaceTime, or we're in my office, we're going to make it happen. Hi, I'm Cheyenne Bryant.
Now, here's the thing. That little advertisement right there is going to be one of the things that can help seal her fate. And here's why. Because she's literally calling herself a therapist and a doctor, and she's talking about healing people. She's talking about healing people. Life coaches don't heal people. Okay, they give you advice and just tell you about things based off of their own experiences and their knowledge. That's why they don't need degrees. Now, when you're talking about healing people, that means you're dealing with people that may have been broken, traumatized, depressed, suffering from mental health issues or whatever, which she is not supposed to be doing if she is not licensed for one, and if she doesn't have the degrees and credentials for two. Her own words are going to trip her up. And I'm going to tell you all this. I told you all days ago that I'm inclined to think that she doesn't have any degrees, not even an associate's. Okay, not even an associate's, because some of these lies that she has told, if she had a degree, period, she would have known those things, such as, let's see, if she actually had any degrees, she would absolutely have known that even though the school closed down, she could still receive her transcripts and all of that from Parchment. Okay, she would have had sense enough to know that dissertations are posted publicly and that people can find them. She just would have had sense enough to know a lot of the things that she doesn't seem to know. Okay, and this is just all crazy too. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Talk about healing somebody, girl. And that's another thing that lets you know that she's calling herself a doctor. or not that she's calling herself a doctor because we know that, but that's another thing that lets you know how dangerous it is that she's calling herself a doctor, because she's literally talking about healing people. That's what doctors do, and she's not one. She's clearly not one.
Cheyenne Bryant breaking the law if she doesn't actually have a doctorate degree? We've seen a few people ask about this.
So if you don't already know about the whole internet drama, Cheyenne Bryant has become super popular offering various life coaching and relationship coaching services. She refers to herself as a doctor of psychology.
I've been in private practice as a doctor of psychology for 17 years.
And she markets herself as Dr. Cheyenne Bryant on all of her social media and advertising. In fact, she claims she has 3 doctorate degrees.
And into 6 degrees, 3 doctorates, a master's degree.
But here's the thing. Internet sleuths say that she hasn't shown proof for any of them, despite everyone, including interviewers, now asking for proof.
Why not provide the proof of your degree? Why not?
Well, a couple of things, right? I have multiple degrees, and my thing is that my proof isn't something that I have to prove to individuals.
Now, she does try to at least offer an explanation for one of her doctorate degrees. She says that one of her doctorate degrees was from Argosy University, but that university has since gone out of business. So even if she tries to ask for her diplomas or transcripts, she can't.
The problem here is that that's not typically how this kind of thing works. Schools that go out of business are supposed to send their records to third-party companies, so this kind of thing doesn't happen. The Utah Department of Commerce explicitly states that Argosy records are maintained by this company with a link to get your records. Anyway, the ultimate truth here is for the internet sleuths to figure out.
But let's examine a legal hypothetical. Assume someone offers life coaching services and claims to have several doctorate degrees, but doesn't. Is that illegal?
Well, legally, being a life coach doesn't actually require a degree or a license. So this isn't really a licensing question. It's more about fraud and consumer protection.
Fraud generally requires knowingly making a false statement so that others will rely on it and it causes them harm. Someone knowingly lying about having a doctorate degree in order to attract paying clients can definitely support a fraud.
Most states also have broad consumer protection laws, outlawing things like false advertising and deceptive marketing. And state AG offices often have entire consumer protection divisions that go after violators. Is Dr. Cheyenne Bryant breaking the law if she doesn't actually?
And she did all of this willfully and maliciously. She knew exactly what she was doing, and she did it anyway. This is all sad. And now, if you remember, there was a video where she talked about saying that titles don't make someone a leader. You all remember that video? Let's go back to it, because here's the thing. If titles don't make someone a leader, why does she feel the need to lie about having titles and credentials? Why does she feel the need to say that? See, the sad thing about both her and Tasha K, in my opinion, is that they're both narcissists. Okay? They both appear to be narcissists, in my opinion. Now, with that all being said, when you look at the things that they both have done, the trouble that they're now in, the consequences of their actions, these things could have been easily avoided. All Tasha K had to do was remove those videos. After the judgment was given, because she was stubborn and didn't want to remove them, all she had to do was be honest about her finances and pay the monthly payments and turn in her quarterly reports. All Cheyenne had to do was basically just call herself a life coach. That's all she had to do. And she says herself that titles don't make you a leader. So she could have easily just said, hey, I'm a life coach. I'm Cheyenne Bryant, a life coach. I'm helping you with advice and giving you, of affirmation. She could have said anything. But what she did, she just chose to lie, and now it's just all a mess.
A leader. It doesn't at all. It doesn't make you brilliant. It
Yes,
does. It has no
accolades in a title doesn't create someone's perception on something.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't breed someone's results. You have many people, Oprah's one, Tyler Perry's another,
That are
have
self-made.
no education.
And as I told you all days ago, Oprah has degrees, okay? Oprah graduated from college. I don't know why she didn't even know that. And that's interesting, because she's supposedly friends with Ayala Van Zant, who's very good friends with Oprah and has been for decades. So how did she not know that Oprah doesn't have degrees?
Whatsoever past high school, no collegiate education, who have done beyond well.
All right, man. So listen, no one is questioning whether Miss Bryant is a leader. No one is even questioning whether she has made an impact in the lives of others. People are questioning whether you're a doctor and whether you earned that doctorate. That's the question. Furthermore, doctors try not to draw conclusions that are stronger than our evidence, our reasons, our warrants. You said Oprah Winfrey doesn't have an education beyond high school. Oprah Winfrey has a degree from Tennessee State University. These kinds of things are red flags for those of us who are critical thinkers. Doctors have a certain discipline, a certain mentality, a certain approach to how we address issues and how we talk about topics and how we solve problems. And this is sloppy thinking. And you've had time to think through how you're going to clean this up. And rather than apologize, you double down. And it's a reflection of a haughty, prideful spirit. But all of these cracks in your character are red flags, because if she's dishonest about these little things, what other allowances might she be making in her practice and in her advice? I don't know. But for those of us who've done the work, who've earned the title, it's disrespectful. It's stolen valor. It's dishonorable, because those of us who've really done the work sacrifice time and years away from our family. It's disrespectful, it's dishonest, and it robs the title of its meaning. I'm Dr. Manny Scott. Have a good day.
And see, that's the thing. This is why Dr. Umar is so stupid to be sitting up there saying that Black women coming out against her are hating on her. I'm sorry, Dr. Umar, but at the end of the day, people who actually went to college, like he said, everything that he said, I absolutely agree with. So for someone to just think that they're going to lie about it and then be out here charging people all this money, that makes no sense. Okay, now I don't know exactly what made her credentials become questioned in the first place. I do remember people saying that Corey Holcomb had been saying she wasn't a doctor. I think that Tasha K even said it herself, because I saw a video that Tasha K recently did. And she said, "Don't y'all remember I told y'all she wasn't a doctor," or something like that. So I guess some people just, I didn't really know much about this woman until all of this happened. I knew she looked familiar, and then come to find out after Brooke Bailey came out and spoke and Evelyn Lozada came out and spoke, that's when I realized, okay, that's where I've seen her on Basketball Wives. Okay, but at the end of the day, this is all just unnecessary.
About Cheyenne Bryant. Okay, so homegirl is telling the truth about Argosy, but she's not telling the whole truth, and she's definitely not telling the truth about those transcripts. Don't let that lady play in your face. Let me break this down for y'all. So, number one, I don't know if you remember a couple years ago, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, that the Board of Education filed a lawsuit against public colleges and universities because of false marketing advertising to students or potential students, guaranteeing jobs after graduation, things of that nature. And if the student could prove that they were falsely advertised to and that they were a part of that timeline, they could actually apply with the Board of Education to get your student loans forgiven. I actually know multiple people who have received letters saying that I went to DeVry, I went to Argosy University, I went to Chamberlain College of Nursing, and they got their student loans forgiven. I'm going to assume that's what she's talking about.
Hold on, let me say something. I just blocked someone by the name of Diamonds100 from the chat because she came in here talking about all of y'all are eating off Tasha. Here's the thing. How ignorant is that? Tasha talks about everybody and anybody, and everybody she talks about is Black. Okay, so with that all being said, if Tasha K can talk about people, what makes them think that they can't talk about her? Tasha K even talks about other YouTubers. Okay, that's why I blocked them, because don't come in here with your biased ignorance. Okay, because Tasha K talks about any celebrity she wants to, mostly Black, well, not mostly, all Black, and she talks about YouTubers. So just like she talks about YouTubers, YouTubers can talk about her. You're talking about we're eating off of her. Isn't she eating off of us? Doesn't she make money talking about other YouTubers, and then she doesn't pay Cardi B? What's, oh, please sit down somewhere. Okay, that's why you got blocked from the channel, in case you were wondering. But let's continue. Okay, don't come in here with the BS, because I got time today.
Now, if you got your loans forgiven, they didn't take away your degree. I know nurses who went to Chamberlain, they got $120,000 removed from their student loans, and they still practice nursing. So obviously you still have the degree because the school was accredited during the time of your attendance. Your transcripts are always going to be out there. If you attend a school and the school is accredited, your transcripts should be available. It has nothing to do with financial aid. They're not one and the same. That part is a lie. And I'm going to let everybody else cook because they've already told y'all about their appropriate accreditation to be able to give licensed advice. That's where it gets shaky. And then the other thing, sis, you can't jump the line. All my big sisters out there, my little sisters out there, we are all highly educated, and we have taken the time 5 and 10 years and 15 years to become educated. Because back in the day, they used to try to say that we was the ones dropping out of high school and having babies. So my generation and the generation before me, turned all that around by going to college first and making sure we were educated, even if we had kids. You don't get the
That's right, because I had 2 kids when I went to graduate school. Okay. Now, with that all being said, I went to college right out of high school, but I went to graduate school years later. Okay. But when I had children by that time. But here's the thing. Also, let's not forget that I told you all previously, and something unrelated to this live, I told you all that in 2018, the study showed that the most educated group of people in the United States was Black women. Okay, so that's how you know everything this woman is saying is absolutely right. Okay, most of us did go to school and we did decide to get careers and educate ourselves and all of those things. With that all being said, people like Cheyenne Bryant who lie and give false valor or fraudulent claims of having degrees, they just make the rest of us upset because you're lying and you're making us look bad. Okay, just like the other day, Lisa Cabrera reported on these fake nursing degrees. What the hell are you doing with a fake nursing degree? Okay, and remember, I reported on the same thing years ago, the fake nursing degrees, or and all of that. But now they're still doing it apparently. You know how dangerous that is? So if we go in on those people too, is Dr. Umar going to say that we're hating? Because the bottom line is that's very dangerous. If you're not really a nurse, what the hell are you doing pretending to be one? Okay, anyone who is pretending to be any kind of doctor, anyone who deals with people physically, with their mental, or with health conditions, with mental health issues or whatever, and you don't have the accolades, the credentials, the experience, the knowledge to do so, then you absolutely need to be in jail as far as I'm concerned. You need to be locked the hell up because what you're doing is a crime and it's dangerous. Okay, now that lady who came out and spoke and said that she was absolutely a client of Cheyenne Bryant's, she said she had tried to self-delete twice. Now, do you know how sensitive a person like that is? And then obviously Cheyenne didn't tell her anything that she felt helped her and made her feel better about herself. Because you have to handle people that are on the brink of self-deletion, who've suffered from depression, trauma, or whatever. I would imagine that therapists would have to handle them with kid gloves. But instead, she says Cheyenne Bryant told her that she was not a high-value woman. So basically talking down to her, making her feel even worse. You see how that's dangerous? Dr. Umar specifically. Okay. But anyway, with that all been said, let's continue.
Jump the line when you don't have the degree, and then to come back saying that you got the degree. Okay.
Yeah, she said you don't get to jump the line and say you have a degree and you really don't have one. Now, this next clip I'm about to show, I'm going to go ahead and fast forward past part of it because he's showing the Breakfast Club. Hold on. And we've already seen that part a myriad of times. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. I'm going to share my screen. Measurement said, tell Umar to go open that school. Okay. Please, he's the last one that should be talking about anybody. As far as I'm concerned, all that money he's collected for over a decade and hasn't opened a darn thing.
We go to college, whether it's an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree or any degree, and we work hard. And what is it? Usually you have a thesis you have to write, or there's a capstone, which includes writing, whatever major paper. We go through all that hard work, reading, writing, searching, and then not to have proof of it. So she went through all that supposed hard work and she didn't save it as a PDF file or as a Word document. That major hard work that had to be turned in to be able to graduate, whether you graduate in the associate's, remember, or a bachelor's, in her case, also the master's and the doctorate. If you can't produce that, I want to say that you're lying. I want to say that nobody would go through all that hard work and not have proof that they went through that hard work. But let's go to the next thing. Now, she's saying, I can't produce my transcripts. How is that possible? Why would you go through all of that hard work and a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and supposedly a doctorate, and you can't show that you did it? Your official transcripts are the lifeblood of you proving you have a degree. I have copies, multiple copies of my official transcripts that I have a master's degree, a master in public affairs. And here's the thing, whenever you have a degree at the top, it'll give the date and say that it was issued or it was given. So for me, there it shows issued Master of Science in Negotiation and Conflict Management. Here's another one, Masters in Public Affairs. The transcript you keep, because if you ever want to go back to college and you want credit for that, or if it requires already having a certain kind of degree, you just say, hey, here's my transcript. And they transfer it from college to college. This is why that there's so many of us that are saying she does not have a doctorate. But one more thing, everybody. Why is it that if you're really a counselor and you care about people, why are you being so attacking the individuals?
Okay, he said, why are you attacking the individuals? And that's exactly what she was doing in some cases. Attacking people. Let's continue. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share.
It ain't, sis, it ain't a black person alive who hard copy of their degree, not at their mama or their grandma house in the box. I don't care what you say. Going to college in the black community is a big MFing deal. Where, sis, it ain't a black person alive who hard copy of their degree.
Okay. Now that was Funky Deneva talking in the background. And that's all so true. That degree is going to be somewhere. If it's not at your house sitting on a mantle or frame, then basically it's going to be somewhere. If you don't have it yourself and you can't even show us a picture of it, like that's crazy, right? Okay, so anyway, let's continue. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. And you know, here's the thing. The more she continued to talk, the more people continue to dig. And the more people continue to dig, the more traction, of course, the story got. And then different eyes got on the story. Because now, first it was only black people talking about it. But now you see other races of people are talking about it. Okay, so you don't think that the people that can lock her up are watching?
Umar taught her was that, you know what? If I don't have a license, what I'll do is call myself a doctor of psychology. Now, the problem is this. Umar's degree is a PsyD.
Right.
And so he manipulates what's written on his degree, a doctor of psychology. And I try to show people that's tantamount to me saying I'm a doctor of philosophy.
Right.
No, because that's what the degree says.
Well, so we can even so she would not be a doctor of psychology.
That's it.
Because Argosie's doctoral degree was an EDD. She would be a doctor of education in counseling psychology.
That's exactly where I was going. Say that again, Doc.
It's a doctor of education in counseling psychology.
So she flipping.
Now, see, I did not know that because I never went to Argosy. Okay, so I never went to Argosy. So basically, they're saying that the degree that she's even lying, saying that she had, she couldn't even have gotten it from Argosy because they give an EDD. Okay, so that's crazy. Do y'all hear this? You know, because different schools have different types of degrees.
she's copying
Right.
Uma and he's playing around and manipulating his degree.
Right.
And now she's copying him, but she's not a doctor of she doesn't have a degree, even if she went through August City says doctor of psychology to manipulate like Umar does.
Right.
She has a doctor of she would have to call herself a doctor of education.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And the counselor degree was a doctor of education in counselor education and supervision.
See, the trick that Umar
No wonder Dr. Umar was caping so hard. I find it all so interesting. I find it all so interesting.
Realizing how much Cheyenne Bryant is a reflection of the state of the collective mind. And just a disclaimer, because I don't want this to go over heads and I don't want people to miss my point. I'm not about to be speaking about the legalities of what she's been doing, but I will be speaking to the metaphysics of it from a collective standpoint, because my work is founded upon breaking the narcissistic spell that's hijacking our consciousness collectively through the nervous system. And in order to break that spell, you have to understand two things. That's the state of the conscious mind and the unconscious, which is the spirit and the ego in a spiritual sense. Now, when it comes to the ego, a lot of people think that you're supposed to kill it, but the ego is the mask that you use in order to express the feminine, which is also your spirit. So the mask that you're wearing is your masculine. And this is where we come to the divide between genders as it relates to our community building and relationships. Because men biologically have been engineered to depend on that mask. They cannot separate themselves from it. And this is what we're seeing in women who have been hardwired for performance. And that performance is the body trying to reinforce its biofield, because through some form of trauma, it's been fragmented. And that trauma is the narcissistic spell on the nervous system. So Cheyenne Bryant representing the collective mind, when you think of your life as it is, every single day, depending on what your title is or what role you play in other people's lives, there is a mask that you put on in order to serve that purpose. But when that mask comes off, because the mask is an illusion, your job is to figure out who you are without it. And so while there is nothing wrong with vision boards and acting as your future self and all of that stuff in order to manifest and break the narcissistic spell, where nervous system navigation comes in, and this is why I say the nervous system is ancestral. It's not something that you regulate, because there's nothing regular about the state of your emotions. But the nervous system is ancestral because slavery was not just physical. Slavery is now in our consciousness, and the nervous system is the vessel for which we are using as the guide to ascend us throughout our personal journey or our spiritual journey even. So that vessel has been hijacked. And that's what we're seeing in Cheyenne Bryant, because her ship is being captained by an entity outside of herself. She is not physically there. She's having an out-of-body experience. That's why she can't let go of the mask, because without the mask of Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, she feels like she doesn't exist. Now, the significance of this is that when narcissism hijacks collective consciousness, it makes us collectively agree to live a life that we don't actually own. So we are living in the mind of the narcissist from that point. Now, the narcissist, or the narc in narcissist, represents the dopamine. So when you are on a pursuit of dopamine, it's a pursuit of performance, because that's what makes your nervous system feel safe. You need that validation because your biofield has been fragmented. And when that biofield is fragmented, it weakens you spiritually. And this is why the narcissists use traumatized people in order to hijack their frequency, because it's easier to control their being. So really, on a collective level, what this is saying is, what area in life is your spirit still playing a role that is tired of playing? Because harm exists in the mind before it trickles out into the body. So when you identify something about one person, then that is a reflection of something going on within your own frequency. And for the collective, this is something that has been surfacing in a lot of our nervous system, because collectively we have Chiron in Aries, which means that we are healing from the fragmentation of our identity over generations, which is what points towards the ancestry in our nervous system and the spell that we're currently breaking. So really, Cheyenne Bryant gaslighting people into thinking she's a doctor on a collective level corresponds to us having doctored ourselves out of generations of trauma through dysfunctional relationships. So where in life is your spirit asking you to stop lying to yourself? Because that is the exact place where the world is going to eat you up.
Okay, did y'all hear that? Okay, did y'all hear that? She was very thorough in her assessment of the situation. Okay, please pay attention. Now let's go to this next clip. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. That lady was very on point, honey. We know she got her degree. Okay, please pay attention. Now, I'm going to use an overlay for this.
Honorary, yeah, sometimes. Like your doctorate. Other people earned the doctorate. Tank was handed a doctorate.
No, he's earned it in these streets.
Dr. Babs.
I earned my doctorate.
He earned it
in these RV
So
streets.
no, hold on. We're going to stop this shit right now. Oh, we're going to get to your goddamn Voltron. No, no.
If it's me, I don't want there to jumped over the table.
My doctorate is based on years of studies and accomplishments in the actual field.
Field.
Not studying the book on how to get to it.
Be in the book.
Not in the book, hoping to get to it.
Yeah.
Nah, not wishing and praying.
Okay. Yeah.
On the turf.
Come on. Because Earth is your turf.
In the dirt.
Yeah. You got
Earth is your turf.
Living it.
Yeah.
Dying in it. And coming back to life again.
Lifestyle.
Nigga. Why? That's why nobody gonna give you one. That's why. Let's get to your
honorary. Yeah,
sometimes.
Okay, so they even have celebrities out here clowning her. So, but I guess according to Dr. Umar, they're jealous too. Okay, so now with that all being said, listen. So, so OG Patrice says that Judge Joe Brown had something to say. So while you are watching that, I went to find the clips of just what he had to say because I want to hear this. Okay, but before we listen to it, let's go to this next lady, and then we'll go to Judge Joe Brown. I found two clips. 57 Beige Fox says Cheyenne needs a therapist. I really think you're right. I absolutely do.
I said this before, so I'm going to say it again because it needs to be said. Black people, come to the front of the room. We can be our own worst enemy, whether we want to admit it or not. We can be our own worst enemy, whether it's crimes that we commit against each other, whether it's how some of our men treat some of our women, whether it's how we disrespect our children and don't think that they deserve any type of respect at all, it's how we treat each other, how we talk to each other. We can be our own worst enemy. And for some reason, a lot of us think that we are above correction, and we are not. I don't know why we seem to think that we're not flawed in any kind of way. And again, this is for Black people. I'm talking to my people. And why I'm even bringing this up, I follow this lady by the name of Dr. Raquel Martin. She is a licensed clinical psychologist. She is a therapist. She is a podcast host. She is a scientist. She even shows you everything on her Instagram page. I don't know if it's on her TikTok, but definitely on her Instagram page. She shows you her credentials. So yesterday she posted a video, and in that video, she was talking about someone who was very popular, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. And a lot of people, they love to hear her talk. But in this video, she talked about Dr. Bryant being on a podcast, Joe Budden's podcast, and she talked about the fact that she is practicing and not licensed. And the reason why she's unlicensed is because she don't want to have to deal with the insurance. Oh, okay. So essentially, Dr. Martin went through what Dr. Bryant was saying on that podcast and basically dissected it to show how it is harmful. And it's harmful to the Black community, the one that she says that she serves and the one that Dr. Martin says she does serve. And if you know anything about mental health and what it takes to be licensed, she was not wrong at all. And what Dr. Bryant was saying was, in fact, harmful. To minimize licensure is crazy. To minimize that. I am not a licensed professional counselor. I am a licensed professional school counselor. I have a license to be a school counselor in the state of Georgia. I have a degree in school counseling. I took a practicum and an internship. And then I went and took a rigorous 2-part test in order to be licensed. I cannot be a school counselor in any school in Georgia without a master's degree.
Okay, and let me just remind you all that Cheyenne, I keep wanting to say doctor, but Cheyenne did say that she did not get the license for insurance purposes, right? She was going to bill insurance because her clients want to be able, she said some clients want to pay in cash so that they don't have a record that they received counseling, okay, for whatever reason. Now, with that being said, you have to have a license to act as a therapist. Working without a license is heavily restricted. You cannot independently, remember I told you all this last time I talked about it, you cannot independently diagnose mental health conditions, provide psychotherapy, or bill insurance without a license. However, you're not supposed to even be working in the mental health field. Okay. And, you know, and like I told y'all, we know that she diagnosed, wasn't it B. Simone, that she said had childhood trauma or something like that. So you're not supposed to be doing any of that without a license. So it goes beyond just not wanting to bill insurance. Okay. It's very heavily restricted. Okay. So let's continue.
Understand that. That is important because otherwise I'm going against all ethical standards and I'm out here doing detriment to the people that I say I want to help. Now, the reason why I'm doing this video is not because necessarily Dr. Bryant was wrong. Yes, she was wrong, but Dr. Martin did her due diligence in stating that she wasn't nasty. She didn't call that lady out her name, nothing. She just showed how what she was saying was harmful to our community. And the fact that Dr. Bryant is so popular and she's always on somebody's couch on a podcast or speaking for herself, when it comes to mental health, that ain't nothing to play with. When it comes to health, period, it ain't nothing to play with. And Dr. Martin never said that the lady was not a doctor. You can have a doctorate in many different fields and be a doctor. That does not mean that you're a psychologist. It does not mean that you're a mental health professional. So you shouldn't be out here practicing this if you're not licensed to do so. And what she was really saying was this: our licensure protects you. You. Because if we're not licensed and we're providing you a service and we do harm to you, you got to have some recourse. You have no recourse if you're going to someone who doesn't have a license. And you know what was interesting? She knew what was going to happen. She knew what was going to happen. Because for one thing, we know behavior. She's a psychologist. Now, I have an undergrad degree in psychology, but she's a psychologist. That's what her doctoral degree is in. But she knew what was going to happen. She said it in the video. She knew people were going to come for her and they were going to say all types of mean things to her because she was calling out this lady. They was going to call her an angry Black woman. They was going to say that she was against the Black people, even though what she's doing is to help us. Even though. But unfortunately, in this community, we think we're above correction. We don't like to be flawed, but we definitely subscribe to ignorance with a badge. We wear a badge of honor in subscribing to ignorance in this community.
She's absolutely right. I have to agree with that. Badges of honor and ignorance. Okay, please pay attention. Worried about the wrong thing. Now, D Major says you need at least a master's to be a therapist. Yes, that is true, beloved. You can be a therapist with a master's, but guess what you can't do? You can't work independently with just the master's, and that's what she's been doing. And as I told you days ago, that if you don't have a license, you also are not supposed to be working independently, which she clearly was. You see, you can have a master's and be a therapist, but not independently. And you have to, if you want to work as a therapist, you by yourself independently, you have to have a license. You have to obtain licensure, okay? And you have to have a doctorate to do that, that's what she was doing, okay?
That's how you get mad at her, because she's telling you that this lady who been on all of these different podcasts, and now she's on here saying that she's unlicensed and she does not want to work under a license because she don't want to deal with billing insurance.
And I'm going to tell you something else too. This further makes me think that she doesn't have any degree at all, not even an associate's, because how does she not know that you need a license to work independently? That she's talking about the insurance and billable, how to bill the insurance companies and all that, or how to avoid doing that or whatever. But she didn't know. She clearly didn't know, because she likely would have said it. But she obviously didn't know that you have to have a license to be a therapist who works independently in a private practice. So that makes me think she doesn't have any degrees, because she likely would have known that.
Now, and I went and checked, and Dr. Bryant's bio on Instagram, she says she's a psychology professional and that she is a life coach. Cool. Be a life coach. From my understanding, you don't even have to have any credentials to be a life coach. They may have a certificate in it, but you don't have to have it to be a life coach. Now, life coaches are important. They are extremely important. They help with goal setting, accountability. Some people just don't know how to get from point A to point B, and they need somebody to help them. Not necessarily need a treatment plan, but just some guidance.
And and speaking about that, I'm a life coach, if I want to call myself that, because now that I think about it, that's what I'm doing on my spiritual channel. Okay, I'm helping you all get, set your goals, talk about your positive affirmations and all these things. I'm giving you information to help you achieve your goals and things like that. So I could say I'm a life coach, not to mention I do consultations. I'm just saying at the end of the day, but I'm clearly no doctor of psychology. Okay, please pay attention. But let's continue.
So life coaching is phenomenal. I've even thought about going into life coaching, even though I have a degree and a license in school counseling. But I also, even with my degree and my license in school counseling, I cannot go out here and practice as a clinician. Even if I read about it, I do study on it. And especially with the fact that I have 2 children that have a diagnosis, and I work with children that have a diagnosis. But in a school setting, I cannot give long-term therapy. I have to refer them out. That's the ethical thing to do. That's the moral thing to do. And frankly, I don't have no choice because I ain't got time. But Dr. Martin went and did another video. No, she posted where she wrote it up. She posted in like a meme, kind of like a meme, where she talked about basically people called her everything but a child of God in the comments of that video, because she was trying to help our people. And I have my theory. I have my theory on why they attacked her. I have my theory. And I'm sharing it. Because before I got into the world of education, I've been in a lot of different sectors. I went to school for aesthetics. And one thing that I learned being in aesthetic school was beauty. It's the beauty industry. And they talked about I had the perfect facial structure according to the beauty industry. And they also talked about beautiful women. Now, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And I'm not saying Dr. Martin is not a beautiful woman. Let me first put that disclaimer out there. But there is a certain aesthetic that eyes are attracted to. There is a certain aesthetic. And One thing that they talked about when I went to a state school is that a woman who is deemed to be beautiful by an employer, she will get a job just like that and not be qualified.
That's a fact.
I ain't gonna say I tested the theory, but I am gonna say I've been hired on the spot in jobs that weren't fast food. I've been hired on the spot where you had to have a degree. I've walked out of a job interview only for the interviewer to come out to get me, even though she had other people to interview, to come out to get me and say, hey, can you stay? I have another interview, but can you stay? She had already made up her mind. She offered me that job on the spot. I have gone into another interview to interview for a different position, only for those people to tell me, you wouldn't serve us well in this position. They hadn't even posted the position that they wanted to hire me for. Not saying that I wasn't qualified, because I'm no dummy. I was qualified. However, I ain't going to say I tested the theory, but I also know I ain't no ugly woman either. And again, neither is Dr. Martin, but there is an aesthetic. And the reason why people attacked her, in my opinion, the way that they attacked her in her comments is because she don't look like Dr. Bryant. And because we're our own worst enemy. We're our own worst enemy. We got popularity in being ignorant in things that we shouldn't be in, and it is detrimental to our community.
All right. That's right. OG Patrice said pretty privilege. And that's what I told you all when I did a first video on this. She's the light-skinned and attractive. And especially if you're not just pretty, but also light-skinned. Yeah, absolutely. You'll be a fan favorite. Okay? You'll absolutely be a fan favorite. That's the same reason, like I told you all during the Diddy trial. That's the same reason some people didn't want to hold Cassie responsible. Cassie was absolutely complicit in a lot of the BS that was going on, and she was doing as much rugs as Diddy. Both of them OD'd because of the rug use. But nobody wanted to hold Cassie accountable. Well, some people did, but many people didn't, just because of her good looks. That's what that was. Okay, so pretty privilege is absolutely a thing. All right, now let's see what Judge Joe Brown is talking about. He looks like somebody who would give a woman pretty privilege, but we'll see what he has to say. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. I'm going to have to put an overlay on this because this looks like he was on a podcast or something like that. Okay, let's get into it.
The problem is one of them is drop dead gorgeous and the other one's ugly, and she really needs to ditch those white glasses. She looks like a space cadet. But anyway.
What? Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? Wait a second. I know. Did he just say that one of them's drop dead gorgeous and the other one's ugly, and she needs to drop those white glasses because she looks like a space cadet? That was not nice at all to say about a black woman, Judge Joe Brown. Oh, are you serious? Now, mind you, I have 2 clips of him. Okay. And I didn't know what he's going to say. I looked it up because OG Patrice said in the chat that she heard he said something. So this is what he said. But you know what? I'm not shocked. I am not shocked because Judge Joe Brown has said some disparaging things about women before, in my opinion. So that's why I said what I said, that he looks like somebody who would give somebody pretty privilege. And I guess I was right, but let's continue.
Bottom line is, I've known Dr. Bryant for a very long time. She got an undergrad degree at 19 years old. She quickly wound up getting a master's and PhD in psychology. She was licensed at one time. She surrendered the license because a lot of what she did was controversial. She ran for Congress, almost got elected. She runs one of the few effective NAACP chapters in America that isn't off into that stuck-on stupid thing. She also set up a thing with the LA Unified School District.
Let me stop him right there. Dr. Joe Brown is lying. This man is absolutely lying. Now, I don't know if he's been longtime friends with her or not, And if that's why he's sending her lying for her, he's sending a whole damn lie. She didn't run for Congress and almost win. Okay, hold on. Let me just check and see. But I know she didn't. And also, even if he's mistakenly thinking of when she ran for mayor, allegedly, is according to her, well, that's already been debunked because remember, people came out and said that she wasn't on the ballot to run for mayor. But he said that she almost won. So even if he was talking about that and misspoke, instead of saying mayor, said Congress, he said she almost won. She absolutely was not even on the ballot. But hold on, let me just double check because I don't want to give misinformation. Let me see if she ran for Congress and maybe I just never heard about it. Okay, maybe I missed it if she ever said it. This is all crazy, but he says he's known her, and then he called that woman ugly. That other woman. That's a darn shame, Judge Joe Brown. You should be ashamed of yourself. Yes, he's lying. Okay, yes, he is lying. I'm going to put this on the darn screen. Hold on. Hold on. And then pay attention. He said stuff. A lot of what he said sounds like the same stuff she said. That she got her bachelor's at 19, because remember, I told you all days ago that she said she went to college at 17. Okay, wait a second. Did he say she got her bachelor's at 19? How the hell would she get a bachelor's at 19 when she said out of her mouth that she went to college at 17? It takes 4 years to complete a bachelor's. And even if you can find an accelerated program, it's not going to be any less than 3 years. So there's no way she could have gotten a bachelor's at 19, okay? This man is sitting up here lying for her. Is he that serious? Hold on. Let me take him off the screen so I can show you all what I just pulled up. This is all a hot mess. Hold on. Sitting up here lying. Hold on. I'm going to roll it back to make sure I heard him right. Oh, goodness. I put the same thing right back up. Hold on. I'm going to rewind it just to make sure I heard him right. He said she got a bachelor's at 19. Or did he say associates? Because if she started at 17, she could have had an associate's at 19 because that takes 2 years. What the hell am I doing? Why do I keep putting him back up here? Hold on. I'm tripping. Okay, there. I keep clicking on the wrong thing accidentally. Okay, here we go. Now let's see here. Judge Joe Brown, are you serious? Okay, here it is. As you can see, I typed in, I hope you all can read this. It says, I typed in, did Dr. Cheyenne Bryant run for Congress? No, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant did not run for Congress. She previously announced a campaign for mayor in Los Angeles, but did not ultimately appear on the ballot. She just announced it, that she was going to run for mayor. Please pay attention. So even if he was mistakenly thinking it was that, that's not even the case. So he's sitting up here telling the whole earth lie. Sitting up here lying because that woman is attractive. Wow, this is the extensive they'll go for light-skinned pretty women. Okay? Honey, he wouldn't have lied for my little black arse. That's for sure. Wow, Judge Joe Brown, you should be ashamed of yourself. Now, let me rewind it back to make sure he said a bachelor's, or did he maybe say associates? Let me put my overlay back on here. That's real crazy. Damn it. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Ooh, okay, almost had a technical difficulty. Okay, now let me rewind it back a few seconds.
She also set up a thing with the LA Unified School District.
Let me go back a little bit.
She quickly wound for a very long time. She got an undergrad degree at 19 years old. She quickly wound up getting a master's and PhD in psychology. She was licensed at one time. She surrendered the license because a lot of what she did was controversial. She ran for Congress, almost got elected. She runs one of the few effective NAACP chapters in America that isn't off into that stuck on stupid thing. She also set up a thing with the LA Unified School District that deals with the assessment of race in the school system. She set up a thing with Los Angeles Police Department where she was evaluating the police officers on a regular basis to determine their fitness to continue to be armed in public. You know what the real problem is? One of them is drop dead gorgeous.
This man set up her and lied. I don't know if he really knows her or whatever. Maybe she told him this stuff. But at the end of the day, he's talking about this stuff as if it's a fact. Yeah, Measure Man said he's helping her story. That's exactly what he was doing. Okay? No, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Said she ran for Congress and almost won. He's talking about the NAACP and all of that. Let me tell you something. It doesn't take anything to join the NAACP. Okay, I was a member of the NAACP when I was like 20 or 21 years old. Okay, I paid my dues and all of that. But here's the thing. She has said herself that she was a member of the NAACP or whatever, and something else that he was talking about. She said that herself. So I'm wondering if he even knows her or if he's just taking what she said herself out of her own mouth and he's just regurgitating it to make it sound more plausible. Okay? But he sounds and looks foolish because we all know by now she doesn't have it. Okay? We all know by now she doesn't have it. Okay? And here's the thing. Now, at the end of the day, like I told you all, she didn't even want to have that conversation about her dissertation. And even if she hadn't had to do one, she would have come out and said that. Okay? She would have come out and said that, especially after someone asked her about it. So this is just all crazy for me. And I can't believe Judge Joe Brown. Child, please. I'm so glad you put that in the chat, OG Patrice, because I didn't know he had even spoken on it. But now that he did, I'm glad you said that. Because now we see that he's just a liar who lies. Okay? Oh, so crazy. Honey, people go above and beyond to protect light-skinned women with pretty privilege. Pay attention. Pay attention, honey. Y'all hear it? Y'all hear it? Hold on. D-Max said, I can't believe it. He's a fool. Okay, clearly. And Durana said, Joe Brown ready for Shady Pines too. Okay. Wow. It's all nefarious. We the people said, at this point, Queen, she should run for president of the United States. Nene said he wanted those pants. Can he even get in those pants at his age? I have several questions. Okay. Hold on. Lurk Squad said, Judge Joe Beige. Hold on. Somebody says he reportedly did date her. You talking about Cheyenne Bryant? Oh, you're talking about something else. I'm sorry to be all up in your business. Okay. But yeah, that's just crazy. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. This is absolutely egregious as far as I'm concerned, honey. And but seriously, Black people are our own worst enemy. We absolutely are. At the end of the day, we don't have to be biased. We should, and we should not want to cover up and make excuses and tell lies for people who are in our community. And here's the thing. He's talking about she runs one of the best NAACP chapters or whatever. Well, the bottom line is, if that's the case, why is she sitting up here, doing harm to the Black community by lying about her degrees? All right, I have several questions. Now, I'm dropping the link for the next broadcast in the chat, beloveds. The next broadcast is starting at 3:45. Okay, at 3:45, we're coming right back. D Major said Joe Brown is a Trump supporter too, allegedly. Oh, yeah. I know that. I did know that, beloved, unless he switched. But I've known for a while that he's a conservative. Okay, so thank you for that insight into the topic and your contribution. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay, so with that being said, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. And I will see you all back at 3:45. Okay, and shout out to the replay gang. So, till next time, beloveds, peace.
Yo, Nick, hit him with that gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen, why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got